Hello everyone, and welcome to a theory video for a change. Because, after extensive research, I believe that VIGO and the BLIGHT are one and the same, and I'm gonna prove it. Now let's start with some backstory. Talbot Grimes was an enthusiastic and charismatic scientist. He was so involved in his work that he ate a poisonous foxglove and almost big oofed. This event, rather than traumatizing him, inspired him, and in his adult years he was at the top of his class, leading the sciences of a productivity serum that could help workers work better. During his stay at the London School of Medicine, he developed questionable methods and received several reprimands, but he became a lead chemist nonetheless. For all of his hard work, he was rewarded with a secret laboratory underneath a prison, and when a war broke out, he received test subjects that totally wanted to be there. When his tests were complete, the result was a serum that allowed soldiers to withstand incredible amounts of pain. However, the side effects led soldiers to be extremely brutal in their approach on attacks on villages. Refusing to accept the claims of the attacks, he was hit in the head with a steel pipe, and when he awoke, he was shown his work. Hundreds of big oofed workers who had passed from his serum. The man who had taken him to the mass grave started beating him with a pipe, and the scientist could do nothing but lie there, and he passed out again. When he eventually awoke, he was in a mystery school and being nursed back to health, where he could continue his studies. Eventually, however, his rescuers grew wary of him, and from what I can tell, had him kidnapped and sent to his nation's enemies in war. And before they could do anything to him, he scribbled on the walls with a stone, and when he ran out of room, he scribbled onto his own chest. When suddenly, a portal opened, taking Talbot to greener pastures.
Now I know that was a lot of text, but the message is clear. Talbot was an alchemist who traveled to the entity's realm, but he could not leave it, unlike the other dimensions he had ventured to. And what do we know about VIGO? That he was an inventor who presumably created the hatch, and found a way to escape, through a very specific flower found in the entity's realm, which he turned into a BLIGHT serum. But wait, what's that? A BLIGHT serum? Something that Talbot invented under heavy secrecy, something that VIGO had no way of knowing about, and something that no other survivors would have any way of knowing about. Which brings us to the point of this video. The BLIGHT is indeed VIGO. Something that is further proven by Tome 1 Awakening, with a line that reads, "He has flashes of the Doctor, his screams, his agony, turning the tables on him, experimenting on him like he had done with so many others. Where? Not here. Somewhere else." Keyword, experimenting here. As this is something that VIGO is known to do. And not only this, but VIGO has a lab, and the only other character known to have a lab is Talbot Grimes, as shown in this clip. That is not the only proof, however, as in the same tome it states, had this flower been his salvation? Had the flower been his way out? The flower that he is referring to is something called pistulus, a flower which VIGO had named. VIGO tried to escape using this flower, and his fate is seemingly unknown. But one of the known effects of using the serum is becoming the monstrosity that is the BLIGHT, addicted to the pure nectar and unable to think for himself. And going off this note, what reason do we have to believe that VIGO serum worked? We have supposedly no proof and no reason to trust that he escaped. He simply seemed to disappear, never to be seen again. This does raise more questions than answers, however, including as if the serum potentially failed, turning him into the BLIGHT, or potentially causing him to lose his memories. A few perk descriptions in DBD describe how the fog interferes with your memories, as with Vittorio and his perk Fogwise. As the description states, "In your countless years in the fog, you have seen it all, and when you're focused, you can remember most of it too." While it is possible that this is only there because Vittorio is so old, it is more reasonable to believe that the fog has mind-warping capabilities. And even if that whole scenario was wrong, the pistulus flower is confirmed to have memory loss as a side effect, with this line from Tome 5. Why? Why was he experimenting on them? he doesn't remember. This is from after Talbot has a reliance on the flowers and constantly feels like he needs them, hence why he lost his memory. And I don't think that is a problem that he found Vigo's journal, as he could have injected himself with the serum and completely forgot about who he was in the short term. And he could have lost the papers that he had found ripped out of the book. And finally, the nail in the coffin. The void. How did he get to the void? Presumably because the entity sent him there after he lost hope. But he is one of 2 survivors to escape the void, even though it drives him a bit mad. So why wouldn't it make sense they are one and the same? There's no mention of the entity taking a liking to Vigo, but there is one to Blight, even though they did the same thing that would set them apart from other survivors. So that is my claim. What do you think about it? And let me know in the comments below. Goodbye!